Not everyone in your life deserves a place in your future, and the most painful part, it's not the enemies, but those who call themselves friends. They smile, but they hold you back. Today we're going to talk about 3 types of people you must remove from your environment if you want to succeed. And at the end of the video, a specific strategy on how to do it diplomatically, without drama, but for good. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't what we don't know, it's what we assume to be obvious. Many people are convinced that the main obstacle to their success is a lack of time, a lack of money, a lack of opportunities, or a lack of luck. But that's not true. More often than not, the real reason is people, the people around us. And here's the paradox. We spend years learning a new skill, mastering financial discipline, building our body, our character, our business. But we rarely ask ourselves, who is beside me every day? Who is shaping me, diluting me, holding me back, limiting me without a single shot, without a single scream, just through their silent presence? I once heard, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I was 25 then. I was broke, living on a farm in Idaho, a few coins in my pocket, a fog in my head, and shame in my soul. And you know who I was hanging out with? People who didn't dream, who complained, who convinced me that the rich are con artists and that success is pure luck. And as long as I kept listening to them, I stayed just like them. Then I attended a seminar by Mr. Showoff, my future mentor. He didn't immediately say, cut people off. He said, if you want to achieve more, you'll have to become someone different, and not everyone will survive your new level. Back then, I didn't fully understand what he meant, but within weeks I felt it firsthand. I started changing my habits. Started reading, waking up earlier, planning my day, writing down goals. And you know what happened? The people I called friends started mocking me. One said, you've gone weird. Who do you think you are to talk about millions? Another joked, oh, Mr. Businessman bought a new pen and thinks he's rich already. And then it hit me. Some people don't want you to change, not because they're bad, but because it's comfortable for them when you stay the same. Because your growth is a mirror to their stagnation. And when you start rising, it reminds them that they've stayed still. Success isn't just about what you do, it's about who you're with. Because people are energy. They either lift you up or they slowly drain your self-belief, your ideas, your fire. How many times have you wanted to start something new and someone told you, but what if it doesn't work? How many times have you dreamed of changing jobs and heard, be careful, now's not the time to take risks? How many times have you started working out and got, you'll wear yourself out, you're not a pro? Those voices didn't come from the TV. They came from the kitchen, from phone calls, from people you know, the ones nearby, the ones who have access to your heart. And here's the truth. Success does not tolerate compromise. You don't need to argue. You don't need to convince anyone. But you do need to make a choice who to keep in your life and who to let go. Because your life is a garden, and some people, they're not fertilizer. They're weeds. They wrap around your roots and hold you back, and the longer you wait, the more they pull. So today we're going to do a difficult but necessary job. I'm going to tell you about 3 types of people you need to remove from your circle if you truly want to see change, if you want a new level, a new life, new results. And at the end, we won't just talk about cutting ties, we'll talk about diplomatic separation, how to maintain dignity, respect, but no longer allow yourself to be caged in the past. Because here's what I've learned over years of teaching. Successful people don't just build, they know how to prune. And sometimes the best thing you can do for your growth is to remove someone from the picture. Ready? Then take a deep breath and let's begin. The first type is chronic doubters, people who live in a constant what if it doesn't work mindset. These aren't the ones who occasionally have doubts, we all do. That's normal. I've asked myself many times, what if I'm too simple for something big? Or what if I can't handle this level of responsibility? But I had a wise teacher, Mr. Showoff, and he once told me, doubt is like rain. It can be refreshing, but if you stay under it too long, you'll be soaked to the bone and catch a cold in your dreams. Doubters are the ones who live under a permanent downpour. They're not just afraid to take risks, they're afraid to think differently. Their favorite phrases, are you sure this works? What if it's all a scam? I tried once, didn't work, and it won't work for you. I remember one friend from my youth. Every time I started a new project, a new course, a new goal, he'd ask, "Do you seriously believe someone from our small town can make $1 million?" I kept trying to justify myself. Tried to convince him, like, yeah, look, here's the data, here are success stories, here are the formulas. Until one day Mr. Schoaf looked at me and said, "Jim, you're not to blame for his doubts, but you are to blame for allowing those doubts to take up space in your mind." Doubt is contagious. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It creeps in like smoke in a room with no ventilation. At first it seems harmless, but over time you start coughing up your dreams. Think for a moment. Is there someone in your life who reacts to all your ideas through a filter of fear? You say, "I want to start my own business." And they say, "Oh, the market's tough right now. Everyone's shutting down." You say, "I want to take a public speaking course." And they, "You're not a public person. Why bother?" You say, "I want to invest in my personal growth." And they, "That's nonsense. You'll just waste your money." And it's not because they don't love you. It's because they don't believe in themselves. And they can't believe that you might achieve more than they did, because that threatens their excuses. If you succeed, it means they didn't fail because of circumstances, but because of choices. I once spoke to a group of young entrepreneurs, and after the seminar, a man in his 30s came up to me. He said, "Mr. Rohn, I wanted to start my own business 5 years ago, but my best friend kept saying, 'You're not the type. That's not for you. Why risk it when you can just work steadily for someone else?' And I listened. I stopped. And now that same friend is out of work and still telling me, 'Don't take the risk.' And I told him, 'My friend, life isn't what others say to you. Life is what you choose to hear. And if your friend doesn't allow you to grow, maybe his chapter in your story is over. Doubters don't cut your wings. They slowly, day by day, convince you that flying isn't worth it. And that's exactly why they need to be removed from your environment. Not with anger, not with aggression, but with clarity." I once wrote in my journal, and I highly recommend journaling every day, "Not everyone who walks with me is meant to go further, and that's okay. I'm walking toward my future self, not my past." You don't need to block anyone, argue, or scold. Just shift your focus. Less time, less energy, fewer conversations. Because here's what I can tell you as someone who's been there. If you want new results, you need new thoughts. And thoughts are shaped by your environment. I remember myself in the early months after meeting Mr. Schoaf. I didn't just change my language, I changed my audience. I stopped spending time with those who didn't believe. I started seeking out those who had already achieved. I became a student. And when I changed my listeners, I changed my trajectory. And soon enough, believe me, I became someone others started listening to. So the first step, remove the doubters. What's next? Start noticing those voices, not just outside, but within. Because often the voice of your friend's doubts lives in your own head. But that's not all, because there's another type of person far more dangerous. They don't doubt, they support. But only as long as you remain convenient, predictable, obedient. As long as you don't challenge their boundaries. These people are masters of manipulation. And we'll talk about them in the next part. The second type, manipulators in the mask of support. People who keep you small under the guise of good intentions. You see, there are open critics, those who bluntly say, "This won't work," or "You're dreaming too big." They're easy to spot. But then there are others, soft, seemingly well-meaning. They say all the right things at first glance, but beneath the surface, their words are like honey laced with poison. These people say, "I'm just worried about you. I don't want you to be disappointed. Just don't rush, be careful. Maybe you shouldn't take on so much." And here's the most dangerous part. They genuinely believe they're helping, but in reality, they're keeping you locked in the cage of their own limitations. I remember a moment in my life, just as I was beginning to change. I was a young father, broke and empty-eyed. But after meeting Mr. Schoaf, I started working on myself every day. Reading, listening, planning. It was like waking up from a long sleep. And one day, a relative of mine, older than me, called and said, "Jim, I see you're getting really into this personal development thing, but don't forget your family. Be careful. Not all these ideas work. I just don't want you to lose yourself." Sounds like love, right? But here's the thing. Love without belief is fear. And fear disguised as concern is still fear. I had to ask myself, why did his words stop me? Why did I suddenly start doubting? Because he had influence, because I respected him. And that's exactly why I needed to ask, is his concern supporting my growth, or is it afraid of it? Manipulators don't yell, they whisper, and that whisper echoes in your ears long after they're gone. They keep you small because that's the version of you that's easiest to love. That version doesn't challenge them. That version doesn't disrupt the comfort of their world, because when you start rising, you start shining. And light always exposes shadows. I remember the story of a young woman from Texas who came up to me after a training session. She said, "I've started changing my life, lost 20 pounds, enrolled in business school, started coaching others. But my mom told me, you're not who you used to be. You've become cold. Maybe you should just go back to your normal life." And this woman with tears in her eyes asked, "Does that mean I'm losing my heart?" I told her, "No, it means you're reclaiming your core. You're becoming yourself, and those who found it easy to love the worn-down, dependent version of you, they're now uncomfortable, but that's not your responsibility." Manipulators are like a soft, tethered cord to your past, and the harder you try to move forward, the tighter it pulls. But you are not a balloon. You are a person with a mission, and unless you cut that cord, you won't soar. Now listen closely. Letting go of a manipulator is not betrayal. It is an act of maturity. It doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you start loving yourself more than someone's need to keep you small. It doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you finally allow yourself to bloom even if others preferred you as a closed bud. I learned a simple rule. You're not responsible for someone else's fears, but you are responsible for not letting them become yours. These people could be family, friends, even partners, and that's why it's so hard to step away. Because manipulation is often wrapped in attachment, but you have to choose comfort or breakthrough. I remember Mr. Schoaf once told me, "Jim, if you want $1 million, you'll have to pay the price. And part of that price is letting go of those who want you to live on $10 a week." It was harsh, but it was honest. Because I realized I was loved until I changed. And the real question isn't who loves me, but who accepts me in the process of change. So now your task is to look around. Who's standing with you only while you're convenient? And who stays with you even when you grow, break molds, and become someone new? Because here's what I know for sure. Those who truly love you want to see you become great, even if it makes them feel small. And those who manipulate will always say it's for your own good. So now you know the first type, the doubters. And now you recognize the second, the manipulators. But there's still one more type, perhaps the most dangerous of all, not because they're active, but because they're passive. They don't say anything, they don't do anything, they just do nothing. And that's exactly why they quietly, slowly, but inevitably pull you down. And we'll talk about them in the next part. The third type, the passive breaks, people who don't directly oppose you but constantly lower your standards through their indifference. These aren't enemies, not critics, not manipulators. They don't build walls. They don't challenge you. They simply build nothing. They stay silent, observe, and never inspire. These are the people whose presence quietly whispers, "Just live like everyone else. Don't stand out. Don't aim too high." I call them energy swamps. You move forward, but the ground feels sticky. They don't block you, yet every step you take with them feels heavier. There was once someone in my life, a good, calm, pleasant person. We could talk about the weather, sports, politics. But the moment I mentioned the word goal, he went silent. When I spoke of growth, he changed the subject. I once said to him, "You know, I dream of becoming a speaker on a big stage." He replied, "Yeah, I guess that's cool, if it works out." And silence. No support, no inspiration, no resistance. Just emptiness. And here's the power of that emptiness. It slowly drains your energy, because when you're surrounded by apathy, you begin to doubt, maybe I really am overthinking all this. Maybe I'm just complicating life too much. Now listen closely. The biggest threat to dreams isn't aggression, it's indifference. Because criticism provokes a fight, doubt provokes resistance, but indifference silences you. And over time, you stop speaking not just aloud, but inside. I remember once standing in front of a small audience in Denver, only 12 people, one man stone-faced, no smile, no nod, no pushback. After the talk, I approached him and asked, "What did you think?" He said, "It's fine, I don't care." And I realized I'd rather be criticized than ignored, because criticism is still a response. Indifference is a void, and a void gives you nothing, no warmth, no cold. It leaves you in the fog. What I realized later was this. Around these indifferent people, I began to speak softer. Dream smaller, plan more modestly, in other words, betray myself slowly but daily. But success doesn't come to those who dull their light. Success comes to those who fuel their fire every day through environment, through habits, through action. And that's why the indifferent ones are the most insidious. They don't strike, they dissolve your flame like cold water dripping endlessly onto a fire. Now look around your environment. Are there people who never support you but also don't stop you? People who are there but never truly with you? People, after speaking with whom, you don't feel like moving forward, creating, or acting? These aren't just neutral people. Their passivity is active harm to your progress because it sets the norm. It normalizes silence. And in that silence, your ideas remain only ideas. I had a choice, keep those people close and lose myself, or keep myself and lose them. I chose me, not because I'm better, but because I was ready to live full out. And they on minimum mode. And those two levels don't mix. Listen, your energy is an asset. And you are not obligated to spend it on those who don't multiply it. That's not selfishness, it's respect for your mission. I love this metaphor. Life is an airplane, and the fuel tank is limited. You can't afford excess weight, because even one unnecessary passenger adds drag and could keep you from taking off. So ask yourself, who are you carrying just because it's always been that way? Sometimes we keep people in our lives simply because they've been there for a long time. But just because someone's walked with you for 10 years doesn't mean they should walk the next 10. Some people were meant for a season, not the whole journey. And that's not a tragedy, that's clarity. That's respect. That's choice. Remember when I said, you're the average of the 5 people closest to you? So if you want to soar, check if those 5 have wings. Otherwise, you'll just be carrying them on yours. Doubters, manipulators, the indifferent. 3 types of people who can quietly yet relentlessly block your path. And that's why they must be removed, not out of hatred, but out of responsibility. Responsibility for your growth. And now, the most important part. How do you do this diplomatically? How do you distance yourself from people without starting a war, but while affirming your new path? Because the next step is practice. Concrete steps, strategies, language, behavior, inner mindset. The tools to help you make this shift respectfully but firmly. Ready? Then I'll see you in the practical section. And now, it's time to look in the mirror. Not the one in your bathroom, the inner one. The mirror of character. Because the real question isn't just who is around you, it's why they're still there. I want to offer you a small exercise, 5 questions. No overthinking, no justifying, no pauses. Just rate yourself from 1 to 10 intuitively. 1 means not at all, 10 means absolutely. Ready? Question 1. Does my environment inspire me to become better every day? Imagine yourself as a fire. Do these people add wood to your flame or pour water on it? Question 2. Can I openly speak about my dreams around these people without fear of ridicule, criticism, or silent judgment? If your dream is afraid to leave your heart, that's already a signal. Question 3. Am I growing around them, or do I shrink myself to be convenient? Picture yourself as a tree. Does your environment let you root and expand your branches, or force you to bend in the shadows? Question 4. Do I believe my future will be greater than my past, and do these people reinforce that belief? Because if belief in the future is a flame, your environment either fuels it or shuts the vent. Question 5. If I met these people for the first time today, would I choose them again? Often we hold on not out of love, but out of inertia, and that's dangerous. Don't dwell on the answers now, just rate them, then come back to them after the video, in silence. With a pen, with a journal, write everything down honestly, because success isn't about inspiration, it's about clarity. And if you feel these questions hit you, then it's time. Time to stop postponing life, to stop waiting for approval, to stop dimming your fire. Let me tell you what I told myself years ago. Either you grow or you stay stuck in the shadow of someone else's limits. And that's a choice. Your choice. So if this message resonated with you, leave a mark. Write in the comments, I choose growth, not for me, but as a signature on your new internal agreement. And also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. Here, we don't just motivate, we build mindsets. And don't forget, return to those 5 questions tonight in silence. Because in silence, truth is born, and truth is always the beginning of change. Every decision you make is either a step toward growth or a compromise with fear. And the biggest compromise people make is staying in an environment that stopped being fertile soil for growth long ago and turned into a slab of concrete. I'm not urging you to break relationships with hatred. No. Quite the opposite with love. But love for yourself, for your goals, for your potential. Because as I've said many times, if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to take care of anyone else. I've had to walk away from people I used to laugh with, but I walked away to learn how to live deeper. And today I can say with full honesty, someone who doesn't feed your vision will eventually become its enemy. Silent, subtle, but still an enemy. Not out of malice, but because your growth painfully reminds them of their own stagnation. You are not obligated to keep everyone in your life. Life is not a museum, it's a field for planting. And if you're surrounded by weeds, no fertilizer will bear fruit. There's one thing I want you to sincerely remember. Your future is worth more than your fears, and definitely more than someone else's comfort. So be brave, not harsh but clear, not angry but dignified. And when someone says you've changed, don't defend yourself, smile, and say thank you, that was the plan. Because as I often said, to have more you must become more, and to become more you must surround yourself with those who can handle your growth, even better, those who inspire it. Are you ready? Because this isn't just a topic, it's a turning point, and only you can decide whether this turn becomes the start of a new path or just another missed exit. The choice is yours.